We are in a series called Philemon. I have been saying it wrong, I think, my whole life, and so if I say it wrong today, I'm sorry. My wife, Rebecca, she is so amazing. She helped me. She said, just remember fee, fi, fo, fum, Philemon, not Philemon. And I went, okay, I got to do that. So Philemon, week 3. And if you've read Philemon, then you know it's this big, 25 verses. And Pastor K started this series and did a phenomenal job. And then Pastor Charlie, my dad, spoke last week, and I went, 25 verses. Okay, God, what do you have for the people? Because 25 verses. And I've been praying about this and thinking about it, and I think that God has something really cool for all of us here today, because I'm going to do something, I'll take it maybe a little bit different direction, but I think it's really, really going to be profound. I hope it is. My hope, my prayer for everyone is that when you leave here today, you have a desire to be a little bit closer to Jesus than when you walked into the door. That's always what I pray for. So, Philemon, week 3, and Pastor Tim Butt getting to talk to a chief, a leader there, super cool. As pastors, we have opportunity to interact with people that we never thought we were going to interact with, do things we never thought we were going to do, go places that we never thought we were going to go. It's amazing. But no matter where I go, no matter what happens, one of the most common questions I get asked as a pastor is, how do I know God's will for my life? What does God want me to do? Has anyone ever asked God that before? Hey, God, I need some help here. I need to know, is it this way or is it this way, right? And people will come, and it's cool because I know that I'm not I acknowledge I'm not that old, but I'm older than some, and now those people want to get my opinion on stuff, which is odd because I'm like, we were watching this thing, and this guy talked about how this married couple wrote a book on parenting, and their oldest kid was 8 years old, and he's like, you do know it gets more difficult, right? And I went, I don't know, I only have a 4-year-old. But people come and they go, hey, Pastor Stephen, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to take this job or am I supposed to stay? Yeah, it's okay, great. I like this one. Pastor Stephen, should I marry this person or should I wait? And I go, oh, I have the perfect answer for you. We're going to go to Pastor Charlie's office. It's right down here, and he'll be able to help you out with that one. Should I attend the local college, or should I go to the big state school? Maybe it's cheaper. Should I get a bigger house? Should I move out of state? That one I know. If it's move out of state or move away from the area, the answer is no. God says no. That one's selfish. I get so sad when people move away, and I know there's a lot of college kids who are getting ready to move away, and I was thinking about it, and some of these kids I've known for over a decade, and I just go, what, Jesus, they could have attended local school. Cost more. But we break down these decisions all the time, God's will for our life, right, into these binary decisions. Either it's this way or it's this way, which is really profound because, there's really a lot more than that. But I had a situation like this happen in my life where I had broken down God's will. God's will was either this way or this way. These two directions I could have gone, a fork in the road. And I was praying about it. And I was like, God, which one is for me? Which direction am I supposed to go? Am I supposed to become a street racer or an MMA fighter? I was 16 years old, and this was like the big decision of my life. And if you ask my mom, she'll remember this, and she'll say, yeah, he would tell us he was going to become a street racer. It was like, I had no idea about it, but I had watched this movie, right? Fast and Furious. They were still in DVD players at the time. It was really early, it was before they became superheroes and redirecting torpedoes and submarines and all this other stuff. It was just like, hey, you can race cars for something called pink slips. I had no idea what that was, but I knew that was like a thing. And then you just get this pink slip, and then like magically you have more money than you did before. I was like, that's cool. And I would drive, and I would go through this place called Monroe, and there was these signs up that say, no street racing between the hours of 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. And I was like, oh, this is a thing. This is a real thing. People really do this. And there's a lot more hours in the day than those 2 hours. So I was like, should I become a street racer? And then I learned about this thing called MMA, this sport, because I got this magazine in the mail. It was this guy, and he was really strong on magazine. I was really small. I still am pretty small. He looked strong, and I opened it up and I read it, and there was this workout in there. And this workout that this guy did, he had dumbbells, and he would do a push-up with the dumbbells, and then he would do a row and put the other dumbbell in front of the other one, then do a push-up and then move. And he would walk across the gym forward and backward doing push-up and one-arm rows. And I saw that and I said, oh yeah, and then he gets to beat people up. I want to do that. So then I was talking to God. God, is it MMA fighter or is it street racer? Which one is it? What is your will for my life? It's funny, I never got an answer on that one. And obviously, I didn't fight in the UFC fight night last night. And I can proudly say I have never been in a street race in my entire life. But it's complicated, right? That's a silly example. But has anyone ever wished that God would make it clear? Just make it simple. Maybe speak audibly. Do something like, street racer. Right? We're just like, oh, okay. Write it in the sky. Get a text from heaven. Your phone buzzes and you're like, it's God. Left. Okay. Make it obvious. I get it. Maybe you've been a Christian for years, or you're a new Christian, or you haven't even crossed the line of faith yet. We all, no matter who we are, second-guess decisions. And why? It's because when we make a decision, we're committing time, effort, energy, and resources to that decision, right? And we don't want to be wrong. We don't want to look back on that decision and have regret and go, ooh, that wasn't the right thing. And we think that if we make a wrong decision, it's going to tank our whole life, if there even is a wrong decision to be made. Sometimes when we break it down in these two ways, we're like, God, which way? And he goes, yes, right? And that's not what we want. We're like, no, pick one. And he's like, you pick one. I'll be with you either way. We think, wrong decision, we're going to get in the spiritual penalty box rest of our life. My goal is to reframe our mind to what Jesus asked us to do. And in Philemon, what Paul shows us, what he actually does in achieving God's will. Yesterday, me and my wife, Rebecca, we took our kids to Vashon Island, which is a really cool place to go. I don't recommend going on August 16th for whatever reason. It was us and like a million other people, which made the ferry and everything complicated. But we went and we saw the troll. There's a troll there. There's like these 6 trolls around. Yeah, there's the troll. And you can see it's sitting on like a throne and it's pointing his finger and the whole deal. And sometimes that's our picture of God, right? He's up in heaven. He's sitting on this throne. And he's like picking, yes, no, yes. He's playing this cosmic game of like peekaboo with our prayers, right? Hey, I dodged that one. He got me. I guess we owe this person an answer. Gabriel, go ahead and, send him something. I don't know. That's not how it works. God's will is not have you guys ever done one of those dot to dots before? Where you go 1, 2, you draw it with the crayon, and then at the end it's a whale, and you're like, oh, that was so cool. Thanks, Red Robin. It's not a secret map that you have to decode. Get the symbols just right. What is God's will? It's way simpler, way more personal, and way more freeing. You see, knowing God's will starts with knowing God's heart. And today, when we look at Philemon, we're going to look at how Paul demonstrates this. You see, at its core, God's will is relational. Paul shows us that it isn't just about a location or a career. It's about living out the heart of Jesus right where you are. Let me set the scene of what's going on in Philemon. There's 3 main characters in this book. We have Paul, who's in prison in Rome for the gospel, right? He is awaiting to find out what's going to happen to him, go to trial, and he's there, he's hanging out, and he's writing letters. There's Philemon, who's a wealthy believer. likely led to Christ by Paul and host of a house church somewhere else. And there's Onesimus, who's a runaway slave, likely stole from Philemon. He meets Paul in prison in Rome, seeking help because he knew Paul, and he's like, hey, this guy might be able to help me. And while meeting with him, becomes a Christian, has his life changed. So those are the three people. And today, we're going to be focusing on Paul. So where did Paul start, right? Where did Paul start? How did he get here? Well, when we first meet Paul, he's Saul, and he's this Pharisee who is this up-and-coming, very famous or notorious, depending on how you knew him, guy who had made it his mission to eradicate Christians from the earth. He's like, this isn't happening, not on my watch, we're going to get rid of them. And he had prestige, he had schooling, he was a Roman citizen. This guy had no like gates, no blocked doors for him. A lot of stuff. And then he has this radical transformation, right? Encounters Jesus. His trajectory of his life changes. But it doesn't just start and stop there. You see, Paul in prison is grace-driven, people-focused, and willing to pay someone else's debt. Huge change from where we meet him. So what did change? Well, not the law. The law doesn't change. It's the same. But Paul getting close to Jesus and having Jesus transform his heart is what changed. Growing close to Jesus. You see, when he had his transformation, he gives that talk, right? And then they take him away. And he goes away for like 13 years. What was he doing there? He's getting to know Jesus. Saying, okay, what is this thing about? Who really is this guy? What's his will? What does he want me to do? And he spends those 13 years away getting to know Jesus, and his heart is changed. He is changed. So that by the time Rome comes around, he's writing this book, we see a very different person who is able to actually look like Jesus, right? That's the goal. Remember, Paul, regular guy. And yet in Philemon, we see him living out Jesus. It's incredible. He does 4 things here. Number 1, he does intercession. See, Paul stands between Onesimus, the guilty, guy who ran away and stole. He is guilty. The law says he is guilty. And Philemon, the wronged, pleading for mercy. This is in Philemon 10. It says, I appeal to you for my child Onesimus, whose father I became in my imprisonment. Saying, hey, I know, Philemon, what he did was not good, but I'm pleading with you, standing in the gap. You know, Jesus does this still for us today. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 5 says, for there is one God and one mediator between God and mankind, the man Christ Jesus. Just this past week, true story. I'm sure Jesus was mediating on my behalf because my 4-year-old son tripped on something on the couch, stepped on me, and that didn't feel so good. And I let him know that didn't feel good with not a nice voice. And I had to later go, Amos, I'm sorry. At that time, I know Jesus was going, hey, God, I know Stephen lost it there, but I'm going to stand in the gap for him. Number 2, substitution. Paul says, if he owes you anything, charge it to me. Jesus took our sin debt upon himself. 2 Corinthians 5:21 says this, God made him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. Thank you, Jesus. We don't have to pay back what we owe. Number 3, identity change. Paul says, no longer do I want you to see him as a slave, but as a beloved brother. And Jesus makes us children of God. John chapter 1, verse 12 says, yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Identity change. And number 4, restoration. Paul seeks more than just forgiveness. He sees a situation here and he says, hey, there's something more that we can do. He wants reconciliation. And Jesus restores our relationship with God. Colossians 1, verse 22. But now he has reconciled you by Christ's physical body through death to present you holy in his sight, without blemish and free from accusation. Wanting to destroy Christians to now living a life that models Jesus. What? And all this time, as he's writing this book, where is he? He's in prison, right? In Rome. And if you've read some stories in your Bible, you know that God is pretty good at getting people out of prison. He's like a prison breaker. If you ever saw that TV show, Prison Break, he doesn't need tattoos. He'll just get people to walk through walls, send earthquakes. He's like, hey, we got all sorts of ways we can get people out of prison. It's no big deal, prison. But Paul is in prison. He's not pouting. He's not whining. God, why am I here? Get me out. Don't you know all the good I could be doing for you out there? No. Because you see, Paul knows that God's will is not a mystery. It doesn't matter where he's at. He can do God's will for his life. People keep asking, what is God's will for my life? This past, no, not this week, I don't know, a week or two ago, got to listen to this guy. And as I was building this thing, I went, oh, that's it. You know that Jesus has already answered this question? He's already answered it. Matthew 5:13 through 16. Let me tell you why you are here. This is Jesus speaking. Isn't that nice? It's like, Jesus, why am I here? Matthew 5:13. Let me tell you why you are here. You're here to be the salt seasoning that brings out the God flavors of this earth. If you lose your saltiness, how will people taste godliness? You've lost your usefulness and will end up in the garbage. Here's another way to put it, just in case the salt metaphor didn't quite resonate with you. You're here to be light, bringing out the God colors in the world. God is not a secret to be kept. We're going public with this, as public as a city on a hill. If I make you light bearers, you don't think I'm going to hide you under a bucket, do you? I'm putting you on a light stand. Now that I've put you there on a hilltop, on a light stand, shine. Keep open house. Be generous with your lives by opening up to others. You'll prompt people to open up with God, this generous Father in heaven. Salt and light. Salt and light. And Paul knows this. And he's looking for situations that are happening wherever he might be to go, how can I be salt and light? How can I bring out the God flavors of this world? How can I bring out the God colors of this world? Because there is darkness. There is places that have no salt. People who are missing it, stuff that is going on that needs to change. Not, okay, God. Oh, salt and light. He steps into someone else's mess, he takes personal responsibility, and he seeks restoration, not just resolution. And there's some big lessons that we can learn from Paul in this. First one is real love takes responsibility. Because to be salt and light, there's lots of things that we can do, but today we're going to look at two and a half big ones that we can all start doing in our life, probably today, where God says, hey, go bring out some God flavors right over here. Go bring out some God colors right over here. Number one is real love takes responsibility. It takes responsibility. Real love. Real salt. Real light. Real love. Paul offers to personally take on Onesimus' debt. Philemon 18 says, if he has wronged you at all or owes you anything, charge that to my account. Whoa! This is Paul stepping into a mess. Why? Because he knows that Jesus stepped into his mess. And he probably remembers a story that he heard after the fact that Jesus told about this Jewish guy who was going in between these two cities. He was traveling, and he ends up getting robbed, beaten, and left for dead on the side of the road. And on that road, some of that man's own people come by, doctors, religious leaders. They see him there. And what do? They walk to the other side of the road and they go, I'm not stepping into that mess. That's too messy. No, thank you. But then a Samaritan comes along, picks the guy up, puts him on his donkey, takes him into town, pays for his housing, medical bills, all this stuff. He leaves 2 gold coins with the innkeeper, right? He said, hey, if there's any other bills, pay it with this. And then what does he say? And if there's anything else, put that on my account. Stepped into the mess. Said, I'm going to take personal responsibility for this guy. Love steps into the mess and pays the cost. Jesus took our debt at the cross, stepped into our mess. We go, oh, it's messy. Yeah. Yes. How many of you know that meat that's already been salted doesn't need any more salt? How many of you know that if the light is on in the room, you don't need to go and turn on a lamp? It's the places that have no salt. It's the places that have no light. It's the messes that are out there in the world that God is calling us to say, hey, you need to go and be salt and light to those areas so that people can see that you care enough to step into the mess. Because right now, no one wants to touch them. And they're drowning, and they're wondering, is there any hope? Who's one person this week whose burden you could help carry? Emotionally, financially, relationally, a mess that you can step into and go, you know what? Someone said I was worth it, and I want to make sure that you know you are worth it. At personal cost. Number 2, gospel love seeks restoration, not just resolution. You see, a resolution is just an ending to a conflict. We can agree to disagree. You go your way, I'll go my way. But restoration is healing and rebuilding of the relationship. Remember, God's will is relational between us and God, us and each other. It's relational, restoration. Paul wanted Onesimus welcomed as family. Talk to him. Helped him become a fully devoted follower of Christ. And guess what? He goes, this guy is different. Philemon, you got to understand. It's not just about forgiveness. I want you to welcome him as a brother. What? As family. Jesus didn't just forgive us, which is so nice. Could you, okay, God, went to the cross, I'm back, rose from the dead, they're forgiven. Now let's have nothing to do with them. Jesus said, hey, I'm here to restore the thing that was broken. And now they are my brothers and sisters. And not just that, but do you guys know that when we become part of the family with Jesus, we also become co-heirs with him in his glory? He's saying, you guys are part of this thing. Even though you're the ones who put me there, I'm bringing you out of that stuff and making you co-heirs. Restoration to how things were supposed to be, not just resolution. Where have we stopped at forgiveness, but God is calling us to restore? Maybe there's a family member, a friend, someone you haven't talked to in a long time. And you have an opportunity to go turn on the light in that room. Right? And I get it. Onesimus now, he's crossed the line of faith, so they're operating on the same wavelength. They're going, hey, Paul's going, hey, he's a brother now. Not everyone that we need to restore a relationship with, though, has crossed that line of faith, which can be scary. Wasn't that just a greater opportunity to bring salt and light into a place where there is none? Yes, there is potential for rejection. Rejection hurts. Just this week, I was going through this thing where there was rejection. I felt personally rejected. No one likes to be personally rejected. And I was driving in the car and I was talking to God and I was saying, Jesus, what is going on? Why is this happening? This hurts. And you know what he told me? He goes, I know. Nobody's been rejected more than me. I just started crying and asking for forgiveness for all the times that I had rejected him. Rejection hurts, but Jesus knows what it feels like, and he's saying, hey, it's worth it though. You were worth it. They are worth it. You gotta try. And maybe, just maybe, can bring some of that salt in. And someone's life will be changed. What first step can you take to restore a strained relationship in your life? So many of us, we want God's direction. We want to know what our future is. We want the crystal ball. Yet we neglect the things that God has put in our life right now. He's saying, hey, there's opportunity right here to turn on lights, to pour some salt. Focus on that. What did Jesus say in Matthew 6:33? Seek first the kingdom of God, and then all these other things will be added onto you. You see, God knows the desires of your heart. He knows the things that you want and you're going for. And he's saying, if you focus on this stuff, that other stuff is going to come and you don't even have to ask about it. So what do we need to do? I think for us, it means that we need to stop asking and start living. Paul didn't sit in prison wondering about God's will. Why am I here? He lived it. He saw an opportunity for salt and for light. And he said, oh, Let's do it. He loved like Jesus at personal cost. It cost him something. And we can too. Whether we're in the office, at home, in our neighborhood, God's will for our life is actually pretty simple. Not always easy, but always, always worth it. Remember, Jesus said, love God, love people, and make disciples. Let's go and do that today.